Have you ever created a character? If you have, what would that character be like if they were part of an anime you really like? Or maybe a game like Honkai Star Rail? That's something I wanted to find out for some of my characters. Hi, I'm May, and you can also just come up with entirely new characters and imagine what they'd be like in a fandom you like, and then maybe draw that design or gather some references that fit to this. Through this, you get a bit more informed about your character as well as that fandom you like. That's why I was looking forward to reimagining some of my characters in Honkai Star Rail and designing outfits for this. Additionally, I wanted to apply what I learned from studying Honkai Star Rail's character designs, and today I'd like to introduce you to how I did this, how I redesigned my characters in the Honkai Star Rail world. Let's start with the first character. This is Yumari. If you've seen any of my other videos before, you may know him. I've drawn him many times already. Originally, he's the moon guardian of his world. I also made a design for him back when I drew him as a Genshin Impact character. That's why for the process, you'll see me reuse the character design sheets from that video. I adjusted some of the proportions first here. Now for the steps I mentioned in the character design video. The first one was the idea, and since I already know who Yumari is, I had a starting point. Overall, Yumari is calm, and I'd imagine he'd be alone most of the time, staying at the same place. At least that's how he lives in his original world. In that character design video, I mentioned several questions to answer to get a better idea of the character for the first step. Here's a bit of a twist. I'll leave this up to you, or rather, based on the short description I gave you and the design I'll draw, you can share your ideas on Yumari's backstory, where in the Honkai Star Rail world he'd live, what combat type he'd have, and so on in the comments. I'm blending in the references I gathered for Yumari's design here, which would be step 2 from the character design video. For designing the outfits, I answered the questions from the first step and used this, but I would like to, for now, just tell you about the design choices and see what your ideas are. Since this video focuses on the design sheets, I plan to actually share some backstory and lore information in a future video, where I'll also draw the designs from this video as full-on splash arts. I hope this makes it a bit more interactive and interesting for you. You can try to guess the character's lore and who they'll be in the comments based on what you see me do for the designs here. Then you can compare this to what I'll share in that future video. I hope you look forward to it. Now for Yumari's character design, I'll blend in each step from the character design video at the top right here as I talk about each one. After the idea and references, the third step would be the silhouette. For this, let's start with the shapes. I wanted Yumari to have mostly rounded ones to show gentleness. For outfit pieces, I tried a few versions with this in mind. I started with the bigger shapes and parts and added some details afterwards. I also wanted to include a few sharp edges like the one at his stomach to add a bit of contrast. Similarly to the moon shape, Yumari has mostly rounded shapes and a few sharp, more triangular ones in his design. I found sketching in some general shapes next to the design, including some teardrop inspired ones, very helpful when doing this step. For Yumari's silhouette, I wanted to give him an elegant look by including long and flowing shapes. Since his design is based on the moon, I also wanted to go for rather light values in this step. I also experimented with a gradient to add detail and softness to the bigger part at the bottom. After the silhouette, step 4 is the color blocking. First I determined the ratio values I already had here by categorizing them into gray, white and black parts. Then I assigned colors to these values. For this I went off Yumari's initial design as well as his Genshin Impact 1. I wanted to go for mostly purple and blue tones for the primary color. I also added some white and gold ones as well as a black one. All of these had a purpley tint, fitting to Yumari's overall color scheme. Along with this, I made sure to include some gold tones as well. As accent colors, I went with pastel purple, blue, turquoise and pink tones. After assigning the colors, I filled them in on the design. I also tried various versions for Yumari's upper body at the back here since I was unsure how I would want the cut there to be. After some experimenting, I finally decided on one version and moved on to step 5, the basic outfit. I sketched this in on top of my value and color block-in. I started with bigger shapes, but then also combined this with step 6, adding the accessoires. For these I went with a lot of moon and some star-inspired shapes. I also added some ornaments that had rounded shapes with sharp edges, fitting to the moon shape design-wise. Adding in all the patterns took a lot of time, but it definitely helps to make the design look more like a Honkai Star Rail 1. After step 5 and 6 we have step 7, which would be about finalizing the colors. After I had drawn in the line art, I filled in the flat colors, and this was when I got to do this. I used my block-in, but then adjusted some tones. I especially had to assign colors for the small accessoire and pattern parts here, since those were not that defined into block-in. The shading I added in the end also refined the colors a bit more, and after coloring the lines to give the design a more soft look, we can move on to step 8, the final check. Here's a close-up reveal of the character, and when looking at this, there was one thing that was bothering me, how the skirt part in front looked. It was too sharp and kind of cut off or separate from the back, adding some sharpness to the design which doesn't fit to Yumari's more soft and calm personality to me. So I went back to adjust this. I decided to have the skirt transition into the longer skirt part in the back. This would also make sense design-wise, as this whole skirt would be underneath the darker purple skirt on top around Yumari's hips. The skirt would also be more translucent at the back and fully opaque at the front here, with a soft transition in between at the side. I adjusted the pattern at the front of the skirt since it was too contrasting and sharp to me. I noticed how it's not necessary to have some patterns and detail everywhere. It's good to leave some places in the character design where your eyes can rest in a way and it draws more attention to other areas like the face. Due to this, I decided to only include a slight pattern at the outer side, leaving the middle area with only the gradient. After this, I was done with Yumari's Honkai Star Rail character design. Now for the second character, again I start with a short description of who he is. These are just my initial thoughts when I first designed him, not who he'd be in the Honkai Star Rail world. As mentioned, you can share your ideas on what he'd be like in the Honkai Star Rail world. This is Koru. He's the Sun Guardian from the same world Yumari is from. He's very outgoing and energetic. He's also optimistic and confident most of the time. Yumari tends to be more rational and logical than Koru, who can be more emotional and impulsive. For the shapes in Koru's design, I wanted to use a lot more sharp ones than for Yumari, focusing on triangles. Silhouette-wise, I also wanted Koru to have a bit more volume at the top of his body, while Yumari would have more volume at the bottom. The values here should also be kind of contrasting to Yumari is what I had in mind, which is why I went for a lot of black, a bit of white and some grey tones here. For blocking in the colors, I then went with warm tones instead of the cooler ones I had used for Yumari. The primary color for Koru here would be red along with a lot of gold or orange tones. I then added some neon pink, purple and yellow colors for accents. I added these as a gradient at the cape Koru wears, for example. I also made sure to include various shades of black so I could separate overlapping black outfit parts later on. After this, I sketched in the basic outfit using the block-in and drew in the lines after this. I wanted to include various sun shapes for his design and experimented with some of these for the accessoires, for step 6 especially. Some of the sun shapes would turn into accessoires while others would be patterns here. Then I filled in the colors, which leads me to step 7. Here I especially adjusted the colors for the shirt part to add a gradient that would also have a bit of texture to it. When shading, I also got to determine which parts would be made of more shiny, maybe leather-like material here. This would include the belts, Koru's sleeves, his shoes, and the black part above the pants on his right leg, as well as the shoulder piece on his left side. Similarly to Yumari's translucent cape at the bottom of his outfit, the cape around Koru's legs here would also be translucent. Like this, the illustration process here is done. When looking back at the design for the final check step, I didn't find something I wanted to adjust. Sun or moon, day and night, what do you prefer? Moving on to the third character I'll include in this video. Along with your thoughts on who he'd be in the Honkai Star Rail universe, you can also share ideas on the relationship dynamics of all the characters I include in this video, whether they know each other or not and so on. This is Kira. Now for my first initial idea, who he is, Kira is the Star Guardian, also from the world Yumari and Koru are in. Personality-wise, he falls a bit in between of Yumari and Koru. Sometimes he prefers being alone, similarly to Yumari, while at other times he likes being around others like Koru. Kira is curious and observant. He can also be naive at times. I went with mostly star-inspired shapes for Kira's design, which leads to some sharp edges. However, I also wanted to include curves and circles. I found it interesting to look at different star shapes and how they can be portrayed here. And determined for Kira the sparkle kind of star shape, where you have 4 edges and curves that go inwards in between, would be what fits him best, not the star shape with 5 edges and straight lines between them. What star shape from these do you prefer? Now for the silhouette, I had the idea to make the middle part of his design the widest. It would also fit to this 4-edge star shape, and it would fall between Koru having more volume at the top and Yumari at the bottom of the design. I also wanted to experiment with some kind of flowy parts or capes, which would maybe be translucent. Then for the values, here I wanted to include both black and white parts, but mostly focus on grey ones, which would turn into colorful parts when I moved on to step 4, the color block-in. For Kira's primary color, this would be pink and purple. For the accents, we have brighter purple, pink and yellowish or golden kind of tones. For the metal parts here, I wanted to go with this warm grayish color mostly, since I thought this would contrast nicely with the golden accent tones. I also added a warm and cool tone for both the black and white parts during the block. I struggled with Kira's outfit here. I wanted there to be a cape, but I was unsure how the outfit on his body should look. After experimenting a bit, I just went with a star shape there for now and moved on to sketching in the basic outfit. For drawing these design sheets, I copy and pasted the outfit in front a couple of times to get the silhouette of the outfit for the back parts. This way I could make sure the silhouette works and the outfit parts connect. I was able to do this since in the poses I drew I did the same thing. I copied and pasted the body's silhouette and only adjusted a few parts, such as Kira's leg going forward here to match the perspective. I find this helpful for saving some time when drawing character designs. Let's talk a bit about Kira's accessoires here. These include a lot of star-inspired shapes and constellations, as well as some bows. I also included more of a straight star shape for his shoes. Adding the ruffles at the back of his cape was especially fun to me. To add some contrast to the face and draw attention to it, I also added these black hair clip parts. When filling in the colors for step 7, I also wanted to have the part right below Kira's neck, the collar in font, and the white star-shaped attachment part of the cape to be dark to add to this. Kira's outfit also includes various gradients, for example on his shoulders or for the two flowy parts that hang from the shoulders at his back. After shading the illustration here and coloring the lines by duplicating merged copies of my color folder and clipping them on top of my line art, I was done with Kira's design. Which of the 3 character designs do you like most? What do you think? Where in the Honkai world would they live? What path would they follow? What would they do every day? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. I'll reveal what backstory I used when designing the characters here in a later video, when I draw Yumari, Koru and Kira's full splash arts. If you enjoyed the video, leaving a like and subscribing for more Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact and anime art related videos in the future would mean a lot. Feel free to check out my Patreon for some full screen recorded process videos, time lapses and full resolution images of my art. Thank you for watching, have a nice day, bye.